Cornell Bush Junior befriended a young couple before holding them captive to burglarize their home with a couple accomplices. To avoid leaving witnesses, they shot the woman, killing her and her unborn child. To escape death, her partner jumped out the window, shot, barely escaping with his life. Now, Cornell Bush Jr. is up for parole. Let's take a look.
Mr. Bush, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us what your DOC number is.
It's 419340.
19340. We'll move on and we'll talk to a number of people that have signed up. In particular, 3 that will be allowed to speak on your behalf. And then we're going to talk to looks like 4 that are going to speak in opposition to what your request is. Once we've heard all of that, we're going to turn this thing over, and Mr. Barra is going to lead the interview with you. Tell us why you think that you are deserving of a parole and shortening your time to serve. Mr. Bush, it's all your show. Tell us why you're in jail and what you did and all of that.
Okay. I'm in prison because I committed a crime that resulted in the murder of a pregnant woman and another man shot. And it was a heinous crime. I was a willing participant. I was there and I was part of it. I fled the scene. I couldn't. It was bigger than what I expected, but I was a willing participant. And as a result, there are families who do not have a daughter, an unborn child. As a result, another family have to suffer their son or their brother that was shot. And I know that was it would leave an impact on their lives. Today, I'm not that person. I'm a genuine person. I made bad choices. I made horrible choices that resulted in a fatality and the hurt of someone else. Today, I seek to be a person that seeks education and rehabilitation. I take classes whenever they're available. I've taken experience in God, and this was one of the classes that began to take me out of the dark that overshadowed me. For so long, I beat myself up about the crime that I committed, and this began to impact my life, teach me that God is always pursuing you, and that helped me to come out of that. Once I come out of that, I kind of leveled up and I began to seek education. I got in Wiley College and I got a degree in business management. I've taken victim impact, and this course, it didn't do what I was expecting, where I was expecting to be condemned and finger pointed at, but it taught me statistics and hearing how people respond to crimes being committed against them. So I developed an empathy, and shortly after my sister, she was pregnant with her first child. She was 7 years old, 8 years old when I first come to prison. And today she's married. She has 2 kids and she's raising a household. But when she came to visit me once in her first pregnancy, it really shook me because I realized what I did, what I was a part of. And when I looked at her, I didn't express it to her or anything. I went along with the visit, but after it was gone, all I could say is, God, have mercy. Look, I know what I did. I can't believe it. And I kept saying to myself, what have I done? Because it reminded me of what I caused. It's a serious matter when you know, any type of violence against anyone resulting in a murder, but this is a pregnant woman, and it was totally wrong and against everything that I believe to stand for. So today I believe I'm worthy of a chance because number one, I've matured. I'm 52 years old. I was 23 when I come to prison. And not saying that age alone matured me, but going through the situations that you go through in prison, if you don't mature, you will go backwards until you grow up. And I've learned to deal with inner things. They call it self-talk and anger management. I did a lot of self-talk. So when I think of the victims of my crime, and I want to say that I'm sorry to I'm sorry to the victims and their families. I want to say that I'm so sorry to them. And another thing they teach you in victim impact is this. When you ask your victim, the victim of your crime, to forgive you, you place an additional burden on them. But to me, saying I'm sorry and asking forgiveness is a twin thing. But I don't want to add a burden, but the desire to ask for that is there. I just want them to know that I am sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for what happened, and I'm sorry for what they've gone through. I know it's been a long struggle for them. I know I've left a scar on their lives, on their families' lives, on their friends, because I know they care for them as well. But and that'd be it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That was a good interview. Warden, would you tell us exactly what kind of fellow you've been?
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Prater. As always, first and foremost, my sympathies, deepest sympathies to the victims and the families, as always. And I hope they understand that, my job is to talk about Mr. Bush and not the crime. So again, as always, my sympathies to the families and the victims. But Cornell has improved. He's done, his disciplinary history is good. He hasn't had a write-up in over 5 years. Before that, it was 5. So he's had one write-up in the last 10 years, basically. Completed a lot of classes. Since his last hearing, he completed, as he spoke quite a bit on, the Victim Impact Program. And I think he learned quite a bit from that. His last hearing, we had long discussions about that because, he downplayed his role in the crime during that hearing. And we spoke after that, and he has learned. And as you can hear from him, he now accepts responsibility. He understands that, you can't downplay your role in those situations. You were there, you were a willing participant. This is just as much your fault as it is any of the other ones. And I believe he understands. I believe he's learned a lot from those classes. He's achieved trustee status, which I'm proud of him for that. He committed a terrible crime, but he's used his time well while being here, and has learned a lot, I believe. So he's been doing well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warden. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll start out hearing from people that are in favor of this request. We'll start out with Miss Mia Lowy with the first organization, First 72. Mia, are you ready to talk?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, would you go ahead and start us out, please, ma'am? And on all the comments, we're going to try to limit everything to about 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to the board for giving me the opportunity to speak today in support of Mr. Cornell Bush. My name is Mia Lowy. I'm the Director of Client Services at the First 72 Plus. We are a reentry organization based in New Orleans, and our entire goal and mission is to stop the cycle of incarceration by providing adequate support to those returning home from prison or jail. Mr. Bush sought our organization out. He got in contact with me by writing a letter to our office and was asking for support in his parole board hearings and support once he is eventually released. From my experiences with him, he is very motivated, proactive. He has shown that he can handle responsibility as a trustee and also holds very near and dear to his heart his veteran status. Our organization has secured housing for Mr. Bush once he is released. He will work with our organization to progress with certain milestones or goals that he may set for himself, one of them being employment. So he will work with his assigned case manager to create a resume, connect with job training programs, attend job fairs, and submit job applications with fair chance employers. He has experience in construction and landscaping, which lends itself well to a lot of available jobs in New Orleans. And he's also interested in working offshore, which is a goal that we will work towards with him. He'll work with our economic empowerment team to open a bank account, create a budget, and begin saving to afford an apartment on his own. Our public benefits clinic will assist him with anything he may need regarding documentation or public benefits, so food stamps, Medicaid, same thing with an ID, a birth certificate, a social security card. We will also help him with any of his health goals. So getting him set up with a primary care physician. He has already completed an assessment with the Council on Drug Abuse, also known as CADA. So they have already set him up for once he's released to attend free counseling sessions once he returns home, which will meet both of his mental health and substance abuse needs. We have a couple of social support groups. We have a 9 Steps to Staying Free class, which is a weekly peer mentorship class. It is modeled after a lot of the classes that they take while they're inside. So victim impact, responding versus reacting, things like that. He'll be in our life skills class, which will help him readjust to living in the city, learning rename street names, answering the conviction question during a job interview, setting goals. I've been working with Mr. Bush's family since I believe last September, and I can really sense how much they would love to have him home. He has just an immense amount of familial support, and I believe that the combination of our organization and his family, he will stay on the right path and find a lot of success once released.
Okay.
So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate the work that y'all do and appreciate your lending your support. Okay, just for the record, Mr. Cornell Bush Senior and Cassandra Bush are with us by Zoom, but they will not be speaking. The next one to speak will be Chantel Barista, if I'm saying that right, or Barista. Chantel, who is the sister. Chantel, are you available now?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, would you tell us what you want to say and limit your remarks, please, ma'am, to 3 minutes or less?
Yes, sir. First off, I just want to say good morning. My name is Chantal. I'm Cornell's sister. I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to speak here today, and I wanted to express my family and I's support for Cornell. I speak with my brother maybe once a week more so, and personally, I've watched him speak and learn from programs provided and experience, and the experience and most definitely has helped shape him into and also reflect. And I'm sorry, I'm nervous. What I'm trying to say is basically the programs that he's been doing, I've seen how it has reflected through his life and just the way that he speaks, and become a more responsible person. As his sister, I can attest to the fact that Cornell understands the impact of his past actions, and through the reflection of past conversations we've had, we believe that granting him parole would not only benefit him, but also allow him to give back to the community, as he often speaks about starting various businesses, such as a janitorial business. He continues to take the initiative to educate himself by reading different business books, and it's something I personally see that he's passionate about. And I have no doubt that he will follow through with any goals that he has. Like Miss Mia was saying, working offshore, he's spoken about that a lot as well. But I just see the motivation. And our family is ready to support Cornell upon given the opportunity for release. There are plans in place, such as housing arrangements, job opportunities, and community support through our local church. Also, reliable transportation. We are committed to being there for him, helping him navigate any challenges he may face. and I'm confident that he will make the most of a second chance based off his attitude, consistent positive behavior, and also what he has accomplished during his time. My family and I humbly ask that you please grant him release, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that, Chantel, and thank you for your words, and you sound like a wonderful, supportive sister. We'll hear from Chris Bush now, the brother. Mr. Bush?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, good morning, parole board members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. So I'm speaking on behalf of my brother for his consideration of parole. The request is not to diminish really of any of the profound loss, suffered, by the victims and their families, but rather really to present personal transformation, rehabilitation, and readiness to re-enter society as a reformed man. I truly believe Cornell deeply regrets his involvement in the tragic events, fully acknowledging his devastation impact of those actions. The loss of a daughter and a mother, and an unborn child, as well as the pain endured by the surviving victim. I think it's something that he carries with him daily now and fully recognizes. Through a lot of years of introspection and counseling and rehabilitation programs, I think he's really sought to truly understand his past mistakes and has dedicated himself to personal growth. He's obviously completed a lot of programs and counseling. His remorse is genuine. He's used his time, I think, wisely, right, to reflect and improve as a person. And I think just, obviously you could see today he has a very strong support system ready to help him reintegrate into society. So as a family, we stand with him, providing stability and guidance to ensure his success, and making sure he's committed to making a positive contribution and really honoring the lives that were impacted by his mistakes. So we fully respect and understand the deep pain and the trauma experienced by the victims' loved ones and everyone involved. We acknowledge that there's psychological, physical, and emotional wounds that may not ever fully heal. And we deeply regret, right, that irreparable harm that was caused, acknowledge their pain in loss. And so we don't seek to diminish that in any kind of way. But at the same time, we do believe in the power of redemption as a way to not erase the past, but a way for Cornell to honor the lives impacted by his actions through meaningful change and positive contribution. So Cornell is not the same person he was 20 plus years ago at the time of his conviction, at the time of the crime. He's taken full responsibility and taken every possible step to rehabilitate himself and make amends for his past actions. And so with that, we humbly ask for his consideration for parole. And I thank you for your time to let me speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bush. Thank you for your words. And you also, like your sister, seem to be very supportive and a close family. And we thank you for that. We'll move on to the opposition. First off, we'll hear from three victims or three relations to the victim. And then we will hear from, finally, we'll wrap up with the St. Bernard Assistant District Attorney Charles Ward will end the opposition. So we'll first hear from Bridget Bartholomew. Bridget, are you available?
Good morning. How y'all doing? And wish everybody well. Well, my opinion, I understand he been rehabilitated and everything, but he don't realize we still don't have her. We don't have her. We don't have the baby. Her son is going through trauma from that. It's a hurting feeling to know, just like his family would love to see him, he's still walking. He's still able to do what he have to do. She can't do that no more. This baby had never experienced put on earth. I see no reason for him to be able to come back into society and live like nothing never happened. I'm not for him to get out of that. And her son won't be able to speak today, but I could speak on his behalf too, because he's hurting a lot. He don't want him out. And I'm not going to prove for him to be out, more so because of him. He do not want to see him out on this earth. On his behalf, he told me to say good morning to y'all. I keep this brief because no words can explain the pain I suffer because of this man. They did not deserve to see freedom. They are getting more than they should get already. Every day I live life without my mother. Every day she's on my mind. I finally made peace with my life and accepting to make the best of this nightmare they caused me. So I asked the board, do not take away from me. They have already taken enough. He don't want them out. I don't want them out because they did take enough from us. You will get the freedom to go and live your life, have a family, and here we don't have one. No, I'm not for him to get out there. And I thank y'all for calling me for these meetings. And I never want to see him walk this earth again.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for your words. And again, we as a board are sorry for your loss also. We'll move on to Joseph Cassiopeia. Joseph, would you talk to us and tell us what your last name is first, sir? I'm sorry I put it.
No worries. Good morning, everybody. My name's Joseph Cassiope. I'm the only surviving eyewitness and victim of a crime spree that resulted in the cruel, premeditated, cold-blooded execution-style murder of my fiancée, Alicia, my about-to-be-born daughter, and the cold-blooded attempt to murder me. I oppose granting parole to Bush. Bush was supposed to be our friend. Instead, he and the two Sweeney brothers plotted to and did rob and kill Alicia in cold blood and attempted to kill me in cold blood as well. Bush was a 23-year-old man. At the time of her murder, Alicia just turned 21 and was 7 months pregnant with our daughter. What is so cold-blooded, callous, and cruel is the manner in which they planned and did carry out these crimes. It was calculated and premeditated. Bush drove from Kenner to my home in Chalmette in his car. He had at least 30 minutes to think about what they were going to do to Alicia and I before they arrived at our home. Bush could have turned around and he could have changed his mind, but he didn't. That night, Alicia and I welcomed Bush into our home for at least 45 minutes. Bush pretended to be our friend, laughing, joking, sitting on the couch with us, watching TV and playing video games. Bush looked at me and Alicia in the face. When Bush looked at Alicia, he obviously saw a 7-month pregnant young woman. During the entire time, Bush presented to be our friend. He knew he had a hidden sawed-off shotgun just outside the door of our home. At the prearranged time, Bush retrieved the shotgun and then stood between us and the door to the outside, which was the only exit and entrance to our house, blocking our escape. Bush held me and Alicia at gunpoint, more than once threatened to kill us if we moved, while the Sweeney brothers searched our house for money and things to steal. I could still hear Alicia begging, please don't kill me. When they were finished, we were ordered to put pillows over our faces. I can still see Wilbert shooting Alicia in the head and can still hear the blast as he pulled the trigger. I can still feel and hear being shot in the back and in my leg. I can still feel the glass of the window cutting through my leg as I jumped through the window to save my life. I remember Alicia's blood, her brains, and my blood and the pain. I should have bled to death and would have except for a good Samaritan. I remember being told that one of the shots barely missed my heart and I was lucky to be alive. I shouldn't be alive, and if Bush and the Sweeney brothers had had their way, I'd be dead too. All three planned to rob and kill us. There was no way any of them were going to let us live. As they were looking at 99 years just with an armed robbery, we knew them. We could identify them. I knew where Bush and Sweeney lived. I knew where they worked. I could and did describe Bush's car, and I have helped Bush get a job in the past. If we lived, they were going to prison. To prevent that, they had to kill us. It doesn't matter which one shot and killed Alicia. They were all in it together, and they were all just as guilty, and Bush should serve every day he was sentenced to. Every day I live with the scars of that day, emotional and physical. I have never married nor fathered another child. Every day I think about what they took from me. We were a family. Alicia and I were raising her son, Jeremiah, and we were looking forward to the birth of our first child. I think of my daughter, who I will never know. I wonder if she would look like her beautiful mother. I wonder if she would still have been kind like her mother. I wonder what college she would have chosen. Bush destroyed all that and more. I can still see the images from that day. Alicia laying in her own blood, the thoughts of our baby girl and daughter never getting a chance to live, and Alicia's son Jeremiah growing up without his mother. To this day, I've never recovered from my physical injuries. Every day I suffer with pain from where the bullet hit and damaged my sciatic nerve. I've had 2 surgeries and will likely need more as scar tissue continues to build up and press against my sciatic nerve. I cannot sit more than a few hours, and my foot and leg are numb all the time. I will never be without this pain. While in court, I could still hear and see Bush laughing and smiling with the Sweeney brothers as they faced first-degree murder, armed robbery, feticide, and attempted murder charges, as if nothing ever happened. Throughout the legal process, Bush never showed remorse for the lives he and his criminal partners took, or the damage caused. He forever took away my child and fiance. He forever took away a mother, Alicia, from her son. Bush is not supposed to be eligible for parole. Myself, my family, and Alicia's family were all told that Bush could not be paroled, that his sentence could only be reduced if he earned good time. Bush agreed to and was sentenced to 40 years without parole. He knew and was told by the judge when he pled guilty he was not eligible for parole. He knew his sentence could not be reduced except by good time. Bush agreed to spend 40 years in prison, and I intend to hold him to it. I feel that the state of Louisiana has betrayed me when it recently made violent criminals like Bush eligible for parole. That it cares more for the life of a criminal than it does for Alicia's life, my life, that of my daughter, or any other victim. The state of Louisiana has broken the promises it made to me, Alicia, our daughter, and our families. Knowing that Bush would spend almost all of the 40 years in jail helped me emotionally, but that has now been stripped from us as well. Even though the state of Louisiana now says it won't hold Bush to the promises made to me and Jeremiah, this board can hold Bush to the promises. I beg you, don't release him. It's also up to me to remind you of what happened. It's up to me to relive and retell the horrible events of that day, no matter how traumatic it is for me. Bush has already been given more mercy and leniency than he deserves. Parole for him is not justice for me, Alicia, our baby girl, Jeremiah, or our families. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, we'll move on to your dad. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. I would just like to make a very simple plea for the board to deny a parole. Our entire family is, has been changed by the first degree premeditated execution style murder of Alicia, our child, and the attempted first degree murder of my son. We want to thank the St. Bernard Parish District Attorney's Office for their support, and in particular, DA Nicosia. And I think in a previous hearing, DA Nicosia said that in his experience in St. Bernard, this was the most heinous crime ever committed in St. Bernard Parish. Joe's life and the life of our families have been forever changed, and not for the good. Joe suffers constantly with pain, both emotional and physical. He's described the scar tissue and the sciatic nerve and all this other stuff, but emotionally, this has changed him forever. And we beg that you not pardon Mr. Bush. He agreed to 40 years without parole. He was an adult, and as my son said, he's been already shown more leniency than he deserves.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate those words. And again, let me express our condolences for your loss and what you've suffered. Okay, we'll move on to the Assistant District Attorney, Mr. Charles Ward. Mr. Ward, would you tell us in conclusion of all the opposition, what your statement is?
Good morning, everyone. I can just echo the statements of the family members of the victims and the victim himself. And I'd like to point out that this is an absolutely horrific crime. Maybe one of the worst that I've read about too, just as Mr. Nicosia. And I'd like to remind the parole board that had he been convicted of the crimes for which he had been charged, he would have received probably up to 99 years for the armed robbery, up to a significant amount of time, including possibly, life in prison for the murder, and possibly even the death penalty. So the fact that he was allowed to plead to manslaughter was a unique gift to this defendant. For him now to want to, and by the way, he agreed to 40 years without the benefit of parole. So Mr. Capioppi is absolutely correct about that. He agreed to it, and I think that's what everybody expects him to serve, is the entire 40 years. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. We appreciate it and appreciate the work of your office. Okay, now this interview is going to be conducted by Mr. Danny Barra on my right. He's the one that's been assigned this case.
Well, it's been summed up. The case has been summed up pretty well already. I just have a question. How many times did you shoot your shotgun that day?
I didn't shoot it at all.
Never fired it at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, that was my only question.
Okay.
I have no questions.
I have no question. I think it's time for us to vote. Mr. Barra?
Well, I'm going to have to vote to deny your parole. I've heard what the victim said. I heard what the DA said. I see that the family was told that you were going to do 40 years and you agreed to it. And also agree with the fact what the DA said about you had a gift when you got 40 years, because this was an obvious first-degree murder during the commission of an armed robbery, which could have got you the death penalty. So 40 years was a gift. And I'm not going to come behind that jury and say you should get anything less. So today, I have to vote to deny.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tillis?
Because of the victims and law enforcement opposition, my vote's to deny.
Okay, I'll concur with those votes. I do want to say we did hear everything that you said as far as having true remorse, having taken all the rehabilitation classes that you could get into and taking all those successfully. I want to tell you that we also heard you got a very supportive family that loves you very much. I I know it's hard to take that you're being denied, but that's the vote of the board, and that's what our job is, to do what we think is best in the situation. So I hate to tell you, but your request has been denied. The time is 10:14. I think we're through it.
If you can shoot a pregnant woman to death, do you ever deserve parole? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time.